Hello everyone, in today's video we would be discussing an epic encounter happened between Anish Giri versus Caruana Fabiano from the Grand Chess Tour Superbet Romania Chess Classic 2024. It's a classical tournament with 90 minutes plus 30-second increment, and it's the last round, the round number 9, and Caruana Fabiano is currently leading the tournament with half a point. So the game is very interesting, so I don't want to waste any further time, so let's start. So Anish is playing with the white pieces, and we already know how powerful his preparation is. So he starts with the 1d4. We have knight f6, c4, e6, g3. We have the Catalan opening, d5, bishop g2, bishop b4 check. And here usually white plays bishop g2, and now black simply plays bishop e7. And for example, after short castle, short castle, short castle, and here black can play just b6, and after b3, bishop b7. The basic point here is the bishop on d2 is kind of misplaced because the bishop is generally good on b2. So this is the whole point of provoking bishop d2. But instead, after bishop b4 check, Anish decided to play the move knight to d2. Short castle, knight f3, b6, short castle, bishop b7, b3 now. So now the bishop is going to get developed on b2. Knight bd7, bishop b2. And this particular structure is generally very flexible and comfortable to play with the white pieces. You have developed both your bishops. So you basically did like a double fianchet to bishop. The position is very interesting. You can already open up the center with e4 at the right time. So after bishop b2, black played queen e7. Anish played rook a3, bishop d6, knight h4. Like, what's the idea of knight h4 now? For example, in the game we had g6. The basic point is to cover the f5 square, because if you try to play something else like rook c8, the idea could be to play c5. White can already capture the pawn on d5, and the point here is you kind of have to capture with the pawn, and you kind of have to give up the bishop pair, which is going to be very comfortable for white. And if you try to capture with the minor piece, now white can already play e4, have a nice center, and white is already like having a very better position. So that's why g6 was the essential move, and it has been played by Fabiano. And now we have the move b4 by Anish. His idea could be to simply expand on the queen side, and the idea could also be to play c5 as well. So we have c5 by Fabi, takes, and now we have cd, ed. Again, if you try to capture with the minor piece, white can simply play e4 and white is better. So pawn takes, knight to b3. So what's happening? So first of all, black is having an isolated pawn on d5. So you can already say that maybe white is having the slight advantage. But I would say black is having the dynamic advantage, as black is having too much, like black is having better pieces compared to white's misplaced knight on h4 and stuff like that. We have knight f to e4, knight to a5, and after knight to a5, black played rook to b8. You can't move the bishop to c8 because you are already losing the d5 pawn. So now first Anish played queen d4, threatening mate in 1, so f6, and now he simply decided to capture the bishop. So now he's having the bishop pair advantage. His opponent's pawn is a weak, isolated pawn. So practically speaking up, white is already better. We have queen d1, and it is a brilliant move found by Anish Giri, because after queen into b7, black's idea is already to play bishop e5, simply capturing the bishop. And the only good way to prevent is to simply found the move queen to d1. And after queen d1, the whole point here is, in the game we had queen into b2, though a better move was to play bishop e5. But I still believe that, okay, after takes take, the position might be equal. But after rook c1, definitely black is having a strong center, but at the same time, these pawns can be easily targeted by white. So at the place of it, Fabi decided to capture the bishop. And here, Fabi took around 10 minutes. And here, he simply blundered a pawn to be true, because now white can capture the pawn with a check. And now he simply captured the knight. Yeah, just simply captured the knight. And after rook d8, simply rook a2, attacking the queen. and just simply trading off the queens, and you will realize that white is simply a healthy pawn up and having a better position. Bishop g2 was played by Anish. f5, knight f3, rook c2, rook c1. So now it's all about the endgame skills that Anish is having, because currently we have the opposite color bishop, and as we know, opposite color bishops generally ends in a draw. So after rook c1, we have rook to f7, knight to d1, knight to e1, a very good move by Anish. His idea is to put the knight to d3. Rook e7, knight d3, rook to d7, and here Anish simply captured the knight. And he went for this knight versus bishop endgame, where now black is also having the e isolated pawn. And if you try to capture with the rook in this position, knight c5 is already losing an exchange. So that's why black was forced to capture with the pawn. And after knight c5 now, e3, putting the pawns at the dark squares, limiting the bishop. Rook to c6, a4, putting the pawn at the light square. Knight to b3, knight to d2, attacking the pawn. And now simply rook c6, trading one pair of rooks. Rook c4, grabbing another pawn. Now just white is just 2 pawns up, and it is a completely winning position. So first Anish put the knight at its best square. g4, putting the pawns at the light square and also getting a good square for the knight. King g6, king g2, rook to d5, king f3, check, knight to e6, capturing another pawn, f4, and the position is completely lost. And after rook to c4, Fabi decided to resign the game, and here Anish actually won a very brilliant game. His accuracy was like literally 97%. And the game he played was completely flawless. It was the Catalan opening. He played the opening perfectly as usual. And here he went on to create a weakness, the isolated pawn. And then he even went on to get the bishop pair. And then he went on to win a pawn. And then he went on to create another isolated pawn. And then he eventually traded one pair of rooks. And then he went on to capture another isolated pawn. And then it was just a matter of time that Fabi is going to lose, because it's just too much. He simply activated his king and just simply pushed the pawns, and after rook c4 it's completely lost. You can't move the bishop, the rook is hanging, and even if you try to move your rook, knight f7 check, and it's already a mate. So that's why Fabi resigned. So it was an epic battle between Anish versus Fabi. If you learned anything new today from this video, make sure to like the video. So the basic purpose of making this video was to tell you guys how flexible this particular structure is, that you can actually play with the white pieces. Just simply double fianchet of the bishop, and you are having a pretty comfortable play. Yeah, it is a very interesting model game that you can use. So yeah guys, if you learned anything new today, make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you are new to our channel. I'm going to see you soon, so till then stay tuned and keep watching OneShot Chess.